I built a whole new talk for Singapore. I did about $60,000 that day. My first celebrity was Eric Thomas. Then I got Seth Godin. Seth Godin, I had 3,000 people online. That's when I was able to bring in Aaron Sansoni. And I had Naomi Simpson. And I had Mark Bouris. And then recently David Goggins tour. Then Gary V event. All my life, I was insignificant. I build significance by being different.
Thank you so much for doing this, Ethan. I really appreciate it. These podcasts are usually pretty casual, pretty chill. I think we'll probably start with like a brief introduction of your story, so me and the audience sort of get to know more about you, and then from there I'll probably jump into the different parts of the story and we'll dive deeper.
Sounds good. All right.
Awesome. So yeah, Ethan, please share with me and the audience a bit about your story, um, and sort of what you're mainly working on currently and sort of how you got to where you are today, Ethan.
Yeah. So my story starts off with complete social anxiety. I couldn't speak to anyone, had no friends, had no one to talk to. At school, it was like it was the worst for me because I had literally no friends to rely on at lunchtime or recess. I was alone pretty much all my life. University came around, it was much the same. So on my own again. But my whole life I was playing tennis, and that was my kind of outlet for the first 20 years of my life. Realized that I was too nervous around people to actually get a job, so I didn't want to get a job. Instead, I had to learn a skill or some skills that would help me make money online and establish myself online, so I can avoid having to go into a physical office and I could avoid people that way. So I learned marketing. I learned social media marketing, Facebook ads, SEO, everything online. I learned it. I spent all my time learning. Started my own business. Eventually, that business, that marketing company, kind of got a little. It was a little bit too easy. My life was a bit too comfortable. I was avoiding things that were scary, and I wasn't happy with doing that. So what I did was I kind of said, what is the scariest thing I can do right now to kind of grow as a person rather than just as a business owner? And the answer was public speaking. So I set off to try to be a speaker. The scariest thing I could do was be a speaker. So I got coaches, I got mentors, I got on stages. I just kept doing the things that scared me the most. Eventually, I got really quite proficient at speaking, and I was able to produce my own events. Because when I started out, I wasn't actually a good speaker, so I had to learn how to make my own events with my marketing skills, my advertising skills. I could produce my own audiences and therefore speak whenever I wanted to speak. And by doing that, I did many events over 2018, 2019, even 2020 online. And that led to a few of the bigger tours, like the Mark Bouris tour, the Seth Godin tour, and then recently David Goggins tour. So that's been the transformation, the journey over the last 4 or 5 years. To be honest with you, that's pretty much the main points.
Perfect. With your first business, how old were you when you started it, and how long did you run it up to 2018? And was it just like a marketing agency?
Yeah, so my first business was, I think, 2016. 2016, um, actually, maybe even a bit earlier, maybe 2015, 2014. And that was an SEO business first. So it was search engine optimization. I was selling education around how to rank on Google, and I was helping some local businesses rank on Google organically. That was for about 1 or 2 years. And then I started doing Facebook ads and funnels about 2017, 2018 was Facebook ads and funnels.
Interesting. So prior to the speaking, you already had like sales knowledge. You knew how to close clients, do cold outreach.
No. So no, because I was too nervous to call anyone or do cold outreach at all. So the way that I was getting clients initially was my first client was my personal trainer at the time. So because I was doing tennis, I had many trainers around me coaching me for tennis. So they were the first kind of clients that I had, and like maybe two or three, and they were able to then refer me and recommend me to other people. So the way I got my clients initially was all referrals, and then it was from networking events that I went to. But those networking events, I wasn't the one networking. I would turn up, and then I would have a friend there, and my friend would do all the networking for me. So they would actually get clients for me, and then I would just have to fulfill the work. So I didn't do any call outreach, any sales. I was too scared to even do that initially.
Wow, that's insane. And I guess, was it easy to get them to refer you people? Like, because like it's a bit hard to correlate SEO directly to revenue, or was it easy for these clients?
Um, Look, it was kind of easy. It was kind of easy, but then again, like I didn't have that many clients, so it was maybe like a handful of people only. But they were paying maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a month, so 10K a month was I was happy with that. I was fine with that. So it wasn't a lot of clients, but it was easy to sustain me.
And then did you just jump into the deep end and go straight to speaking, or did you run both things concurrently?
Well, I had to have something to speak about. So when I wanted to be a speaker, I had to obviously sell something to make money. So I got rid of the SEO because it was much harder to sell, much harder to fulfill, much longer term results. And I focused all my attention on advertising and funnel building because it was easier to get an ROI quicker. So I I went straight into speaking from there and started selling Facebook ads and funnels. Um, when I kind of got good at those, I started selling that on stage.
Interesting. Tell me about your very first speaking gig that you put together. Like, how big was the room? How much did it cost?
Yeah.
How many people showed up? Did you run Facebook ads to get them to show up? And then what was your offer in the end?
The first event that I personally put together, so not my first like invited gigs, but the first one that I put on together was in Colorado Springs. So
Wow.
why was it in Colorado Springs? Because um, so to give you context, I couldn't sell, couldn't. I was scared to even think about selling. So I was still very, I just wanted to speak. I was scared of everything else. So one of my coaches wanted to help me, and luckily enough, I had great coaches that wanted to help me. So he basically said, "You come to Colorado, where he lives around there. You come to Colorado, I will sell for you, and we'll try to make this work together initially." So I go to Colorado 24 hours to get there on the plane. I do plenty of Facebook ads, so it's all Facebook, Instagram ads for that event. I get to Colorado. It's May 2018, I think, or May 2019, and it's supposed to be pretty much summer in the USA, but it's actually there's a blizzard, so it's snowing. The roads are closed. No one can get to the actual event. So I get to the venue, and there are about maybe 10, 15 people there at the most.
Other Facebook ads, do they buy a ticket or is it just a sign up?
It was a free event, so it's just yeah, free event. So I spent about all up in terms of accommodation, travels, advertising, probably $10,000 all up. And as a beginner, that's like your whole almost your whole bank account, right? So uh, I go to Colorado. There's no one there. I make no sales. I lose pretty much everything on that one event in the first one. So it was a terrible start, but it was also a great experience. To be honest with you, it was a very fun testing learning curve. But yeah, that was the first one.
Interesting. And your previous or your mentors at the time, were they doing the same thing, running Facebook ads, bringing people to events? So did you already have a gist of like how many signups would you have to make in order to for like if do you have to do 200 signups for 50 people to show up? Did you know the ratios or were you figuring that out on your own?
Good question. So I I had clients of mine. I had one client of mine that was a great speaker, so I knew some of the numbers that he was getting, but I didn't know what to expect for my numbers. I really had no idea. All I knew was what his numbers were and how he was doing, but only I was only one data point, so I wasn't confident in it.
Wow. And then I guess, how did you learn all the different aspects? Because you have to learn the Facebook ads, you have to learn how to put together the venue and all that stuff. Then you need to learn how to do sort of like a webinar style sort of live event. Then you also need to put together an offer and sort of learn how to close. Um, and then you have to figure out the payment gateways, how to do payments, and is there a table where people run to? It's like so many things. Did you learn it from one coach who did everything?
So, all right. So how I saw the first speaker. So I went to a Gary V event 2018. One of the speakers there was called JT Foxx, and JT was by far the best closer I've ever seen in my life. Best closer ever. And I had no idea what he was doing. I had no idea that he was selling something. I had no idea who he was. And he sells his product and everyone's just running. Like they're rushing, they're running. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And he made probably like $2-3 million that day. I don't know. It was just nuts. And so I bought his program. That's when I got my first coaches. So JT had 2-day events, 4-day events. At those events, he would teach us how he was doing what he was doing. So it was teaching us how he was selling. At those events, he had coaches. Those people were called Regiee and Cherie and Les, and Regiee especially. helped me initially, coach me through some of that stuff. So he was like, "Look, JT, like I observed JT, I observed how he spoke and how he closed, and I tried to pick up as much as I could. Right, I saw how he used the tables and all these other things, but I wasn't learning directly. He was teaching us as he was doing it. Then Regiee helped me get the room hire, and organize like the venue. I had no idea how to get the venue, so he organized the venue, and I just tried my best to watch how JT did it to learn how to speak. Now, when it became time to speak, I hadn't really spent any time learning structure, so I was just trying to teach content. No idea how to sell. So Regiee would go on stage and then make an offer to the audience. So he would be the one selling at the end. I would just be doing content with literally no idea other than just wanting to speak about stuff. So yeah, it was honestly rough. It was honestly learning on the fly, on the go. But I just wanted it so badly that I didn't really care. I just wanted to figure it out as I went on. So it was kind of learning on the job as well as learning from JT when JT was the one speaking and selling, in real time.
That is so cool. From all your mentors, like what was your ratio of like paid mentors, mentors that you just got through partnerships and sort of just organic sort of relationship built mentors?
At the beginning, 100% paid mentors,
Wow.
100%. So
Very important.
yeah, so I paid JT first, and that gave me access to his coaches. So Regiee was next, and I already had paid. So Regiee then helped me out. Cherie I had paid for as well. So yeah, those are my main three people initially. So I paid for all of them.
That's super cool. And I think that just shows how it's important to sort of get mentorships. Um, Ethan, when you first got into speaking, how many sort of free gigs did you have to do? And then how many gigs did you have to then pay to sort of speak at? And then how many, and then when did you get to a point where you could have enough experience to make your own events?
Yes, I've never paid to speak in an event. The first the first three events were all, I was invited to speak for like 10, 20 minutes as practice runs. So first one was in Melbourne, second was in Switzerland, and third was in Sydney. And those three events were all also connected to that JT mentorship that I bought. So he had other events, and he pretty much said, if you want to practice, go to those events and they'll give you some mic time to get your feet underneath you. So, a lot of my start was by taking that financial risk to invest with JT and his organization initially. And I got those free, gigs to practice at. Now, I'd only done the first two or three, probably the first three, before I pretty much said I wanted to do my own events. And there was no, at that point, there was no more free events I could speak at. There was no more events I was going to get invited to speak at. I'd use my kind of resources up at that time. So that's when I said, let's just try and let's just bite the bullet and go for it. And yeah, I honestly didn't have the experience because I was going from a 20-minute talk to now a 6 hour talk with, I had no idea how to do that. Honestly, I had no clue.
That's crazy. So you didn't even sort of get to a point where people were paying you to speak. You just went straight to creating your own event.
Yeah, no one's ever paid me to speak. No one's ever paid me to speak.
And then, well, what, like, people who want to become a speaker, what is your recommended journey? Like, a lot of people out there say do as many free speaking gigs as possible, but you took a completely different route. Do you recommend your route, or what's your recommended route?
So my route is the route for those people that they don't care what it takes. They just want to get there. That's where I was. I didn't care what it took. I didn't want to go slow. I was like, I just want to get there. I don't care how long it takes, how quick how hard it is. So my recommended route now is, you need to, yeah, for someone that wants to start out, I would say you've got to firstly have something to sell, like at least an idea to have something to sell, right? And then I would literally just go straight to making your own live events. I would choose a date like 2 months in advance. I would launch ads, launch funnels, and I would go live, straight away. And these days, there's a lot more resources out there, and how to do it. Literally, my whole book, the one that I wrote recently, is step by step what I would do today if I was starting from zero. I put it all on there. And that's what I would do. I would just choose a date, go live, and launch your own event straight away.
Wow. And would it be like an online event or like a physical location event first time?
Depends how fast you want to learn. So online events are great for practicing with like less money, less risk, right? So in 2020, my like COVID happened, so my whole year was built on online webinars. And that year, obviously, that year was when webinars were the best to do because people had to go online. But in-person events, I learned a lot more. I learned a lot more in person, and you can also have a much better result in person. So my advice is if you're financially kind of restricted, start off online first. If you're someone that has a bit more appetite for risk and doesn't mind getting your feet wet, then I would say start in person and learn the hard way.
In the online webinar space, is it still doable? Because it feels very hard because you run ads, you get bookings at, you know, six, seven, $10 a booking, then like only like 20% of people show up. So all of a sudden now you're paying like $50 for a show up, and then you have 100 people, maybe you close 20%, 10%, and now your sort of cost per acquisition has just multiplied by another 10. How do you like it seems so difficult. How would you simplify that?
Well, it's all a numbers game. So the numbers that you talk about just then, those are actually great numbers. So the numbers that I kind of work to is if I can get $20 per registration and 20% turn up, that's $100 per person in the room. I can close if I close 10%, I'm paying $1,000 to acquire a customer. So if I sell a $3,000 product, I'm now making $2,000 per sale.
Mm.
And then I also have, and every speaker eventually needs what's called a back end or a value ladder. So if you buy my $3,000 service, my or $3,000 event, I then have a next upsell or more intensive program that another small percentage will buy from there. And that's then becoming pure profit almost. So it's understanding your numbers because if you can literally get $20 a lead and 20% turn up, you're going to do well. It just comes down to understanding the long-term strategy as well.
Interesting. How many like live webinars have you done before you did that first speaking gig?
So in 2020, I did two live webinars a week for a whole year. And that's how I got really good at speaking because it's you actually have to be a better speaker online than in person. Like online, you have less chance, like you have less room for error because people can so easily leave a webinar. There's less energy, like there's less intensity. It's harder to bring that up, right? So online webinars, I did like 100 of them in a year, and it made me very, very good at presenting on a screen and very, very good at then going on stage and doing it as well. So yeah, highly recommend.
That's crazy. What sort of gave you the grit to do all 100 without hitting sort of the 30th one and be like, it's all right, I'm going to download, save this one and make it automated? Like, what kept you sort of doing the live ones for that long and not having these sort of the trigger to just like, I want to automate it as quick as possible?
Two reasons. First one is because every time I did it live, the chat box is addictive. Like it is just insane. Like live interaction is insane. And what even happens further than that is when I do it live, when you do it live, there are going to be comments. People are going to ask questions in the chat box. I take those comments, I take those questions. The next time I give a talk, I add those questions into my talk, and now I handle them before they even come up. So the audience is kind of teaching me how to sell and speak even better because they're telling me what they need to learn, and that's the most important reason. The second important reason is when you try to take an online webinar to automate it, your conversion rate decreases dramatically. So you're going to lose. And I tried it. I tried it about I tried maybe like a third of the way in, and the sales were not the same. The result is not the same because when you're live, I can say, I can say, right, Andy says this is the biggest issue, and I can handle your issue live with you here. Where it's recorded, I can't do that.
Mm. And then, so after 100 live webinars, you must have gotten your webinar super tight. It's now your baby, and you sort of just went off and did real life events rather than just going even harder on webinars.
Well, yeah, I got it super tight. So then what happened was, well, 2020 was still with the pandemic, so I couldn't go in person just yet. So what I did was I then brought in celebrities online. And this is how I got my first celebrity branding. Now, I think this is actually quite important. That's probably underestimated of what I did. I brought in Eric Thomas. My first celebrity was Eric Thomas, ET. I brought him in. That gave me some credibility. Then I got Seth Godin. huge credibility. Now, Seth Godin, I had 3,000 people online. That was the biggest audience I spoke to in my life. So 3,000 people, and I was able to leverage that event to get other relationships. So that's when I was able to bring in Aaron Sansoni. So now what I did is I said, Aaron, I have 3,000 people coming to my event online with Seth Godin. Do you want to come and speak? And that established that relationship. So I brought him in to help me with that one. Then after Seth Godin, I had Naomi Simpson. Naomi Simpson, Australian, a bigger Australian audience. So that was, again, huge. 2021 comes around and we still have, and by this time I am tired from webinar. I'm tired. I want to go back in person. So 2021 comes around and we're still in Australia, we're still in and out of lockdowns, but we're almost out of them. And I picked this time to take a massive risk, and that was to pull off an in-person tour in April with Mark Bouris. Now, there was no tours, no events up until this point, except for before COVID. So it was a massive risk, but it was also a bigger opportunity for success because no one else had done it. And luckily enough, we there was a lockdown in Brisbane like 2 weeks before the event and like 2 weeks after the event. We just got in, but we pulled it off. And that was when I started going back to in-person events, was the Mark Bouris one.
Did you have Mark Bouris join one of the live webinars prior, or was that your first time working with him? It was the in-person events.
Yeah, so I tried to get Mark Bouris online, and even before Eric Thomas, and Mark Bouris rejected me. So no, I tried, and he said no. So it took a while.
Interesting. And tell me about that sort of follow-up process. How did you sort of get to a point where it's like he was like, okay, let's work together? Was it every time you'd finish a webinar, be like, hey, I just want to check in. This is the event I did with A, B, C. This is the numbers we pulled in. Still would love to work with you. And you would do that 3, 4 times. He'll say no, 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 and eventually it turned into a yes.
No, I'm not a volume guy. I'm not a volume pull up guy. I'm quite low touch. So what I did was I just said let's stepping stone it. So obviously when I addressed him first, he was going to be my first ever celebrity. I had no leverage, I had no brand, I had nothing. So I said let's just go back a few steps and try to find someone that maybe will work with me, and let's go from there. So Eric Thomas was the first one because ET hadn't been doing many events, and also because I kind of had a more of a story with ET. Like, I had a photo with him in 2016 when he was here. There was a cooler story there, so he said yes. When I had Eric Thomas, then I was able to use that. He has a big America, it's like a huge US brand. I was able to use that event to then get Seth Godin, and Seth Godin's in marketing, in business. Like he's one of the best, one of the old school OGs. Like he's one of the best. So when I had Seth Godin, I could get anyone I wanted. And that's when Naomi said yes. That's when Mark Bouris said yes. It was because I had that prior proof, that prior brand that made it a no-brainer.
And when you bring on these guests, I guess they're coming on because you've been able to do decently well on your own with these webinars. So they wanted to sort of put together an online webinar with your sort of experience. What were you selling? Were you selling their products? Was it your products? Was it both? Was it just one big event, or was it multi-date?
Yeah, so normally a celebrity will never sell. That they'll just want to do content, educate the audience, and for them it's a great way to give back to the audience essentially. So I normally just sell my service, which is the done for you marketing service, and they will just do a keynote for like an hour or something to teach the audience about what they're currently doing, what they learned, and things like that. So it's normally a 1 day event, so it's a full day, or even a half day, but it's usually an 8 hour, 6 hour event with the celebrity doing about 1 hour of that content.
Oh, wow. So that means they just come on and they just give straight value and you sort of bring them on as a speaker.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Huh. And then I would have thought that, like, to get these people on as a speaker, you just sort of find their speaking fee and it's simply just paying that speaking fee. But I guess it's much harder than that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people that want to pay the speaking fee. Like there's many offers that they get, but they look for like they could just take anything to be honest, but they look for more brand alignment, more proof that it works. Like some of these speakers, they get paid the fees, and then what happens is the deal falls through after they've actually been paid and the event doesn't happen anymore. So there are different risks involved as a speaker because imagine if someone comes down to Australia, everyone buys tickets, then it gets cancelled. Well, that's the promoter's fault usually, or whoever's fault it is. So they got to be careful of who they choose and who they work with.
Got it. Wow. And then was it risky for you, Ethan? Sort of, did you know the numbers on, hey, it will cost $20,000 to get this speaker on for an hour? would this extra $20,000 bring in more than $20,000 in like people showing up?
Yeah. Uh, I didn't know the answer. I didn't know the answer. I think a lot of any entrepreneurial journey is the next answer is not going to be obvious. You're not going to actually have the exact answer. I did not. I thought it would, but I was just guessing, to be honest. I was making educated bets on what I think was going to work.
Interesting. And what would the sort of online webinar format be? Would it be you introduce, they talk for an hour, then you sort of go in on their presentation, they go off, and hopefully the people who came for, say, ET stayed for your part of the presentation? Or maybe you did it prior for that reason.
Yeah, so when I use the American celebrities, they yeah, when I invite American celebrities because of the time difference, they have to speak earlier in the day. So normally it would be like one speaker before the celebrity, then the celebrity comes on, then I may have two or three others. So with Seth Godin, that's what happened. I had about 3,000 people to start the event. I had one speaker before Seth, then Seth came on second, and then I think I was on third, and maybe half the audience left, which is the risk that you take. That's going to happen. When it's the Australian celebrity, I normally have them go last, and yeah, I think with Naomi Simpson, I just did a 4 hour event. It was actually just me, one other speaker, and then her. So it was quite a short event anyway, not a big deal. So if you can leave them till the end, it's better for retention. Even now with the bigger events like the one that you came to with Goggins, you would have seen me have two celebrities, one at the start, one at the end, and that way people, if they just want to come for the celebrities, they can do that either or. And for those they kind of love the star, they want to stay there for a bit longer and watch the whole day, they can do that too. So if it's a full day event in person, I do like to have two draw cards if I can.
That's super cool. Ethan, when you bring on celebrities, are you sort of paying to get cheaper leads because now they're the face of the sort of event? Or are you paying for them to organically bring in more people from their end?
So this comes down to how you negotiate the contract.
Mm.
So some celebrities will post on their socials and some will not. I ideally you want them to do that because it's going to help you get a lot more credibility. So with Goggins, one of the things that he did, which was really incredible for us, was he posted on his stories quite a number of times to obviously show the audience it was real because many people were saying there's no way Goggins is coming. Like this is a scam. This is a scam. So he killed that very early on with the video, with his posting on his Instagram account. He killed it straight away, which is great. Ned Brockman too. Ned Brockman had a video and did a post for us. So with Ned, the post obviously also helped bring some organic people in from his audience that helped tremendously with ticket sales too. So ideally, the answer is you definitely want that if you have a celebrity for sure.
Do speakers ever sort of do like a joint venture or partnership with you, or was it usually just like a one-time speaking fee?
Um, so I would say 99% of the time they will not do a joint venture with you. It's too risky for their brand. So if they're putting like imagine they're putting their name to your brand and you're selling something and then there's like a bad review or there's like a bad testimonial, it gets back to them and they look bad. So the answer is usually just speaker fee.
Got it. And then when you sort of put together, like for example, the David Goggins event, you had like tons of speaker. Besides the celebrity, are the other speakers just coming on to like it's just an opportunity for them to speak and sort of share value and sort of talk about their program, or do they pay to come on, or do you pay them to come on?
Hmm. So when you invite other speakers that are not draw cards, the idea is like to produce these kind of events. There's a lot of it's a massive risk financially. So you need to find a way to cover your costs, and this is what a lot of people don't understand because a lot of the audience. So there's in the audience, there's two kinds of people, right? There's the majority of people that are like, I love it, going just here, I love this event, it's incredible, I'm learning so much. But you have a small minority that don't actually get it. And what they will say to your events is, I'm just here for Goggins. Who are all these randoms? Why are they selling stuff? So
Mm.
they don't understand to get Goggins here, to get anyone here in the first place, it's huge. It's a huge financial outlay that someone needs to be able to cover to get him in the first place, right? So when you have other speakers in here, you don't pay them anything. You take a percentage of their sales. So they go on stage, they share great content, and then you get a cut as the promoter and the producer of whatever they sell. Ideally, though, you want to find the speakers that are not going to be too salesy, because that's where there's a fine line. Yes, they can sell stuff, but there's a way to do it. There's a way that is too salesy, and there's a way that's like 98% education and 2% close. So you have to find the right balance as well.
That's amazing. When you sort of did that first Mark Bouris event after COVID, was that how many events, live events, in-person events did you do prior to that one?
To Mark Bouris, I would have done Colorado. I did San Diego, Los Angeles, Anaheim, and then twice in Singapore, twice in Malaysia. So we're looking at about, yeah. Oh, and then there's three, probably 11, because there's three more. I say 11 events. But they were small. They were tiny ones.
Oh wow, so you had a bit of experience getting venues, getting guests, selling tickets. Some of them were probably free. How many events did you have to get to? I know the first one you sort of just lost the 10 grand. How many events was it until you were breaking even?
So the second event was really good for me. So after the first event, that Colorado one, I went back and I was quite annoyed at myself. I'm like, what am I doing? I obviously can't speak, can't sell. So I went back and reviewed my whole talk. My next talk was in Singapore. And Singapore is a place that I wanted to go to I wanted to go there so badly. I love the place. So I built a whole new talk for Singapore. I go there and I think I did about $60,000 that day. So that covered all my costs and got me in the black. So that was fantastic.
And then after, like, so you did a bunch of speaking, then COVID happened, then you did live webinars for a year, you did 100 live webinars. When you came back on your first event, did your closing rate just skyrocket because you had so much practice that year?
When I went back in person, it 100% did. I had a lot more practice. I knew what I was talking about now. I had my structure in place. Yeah, and I had the branding as well. So yeah, 100%, tenfold. Yeah.
Tell me about your sort of done for you sort of offer. Like, do you still run that? Are you mainly focused on the events, or do you still help a lot of companies do their marketing?
So yeah, so I have a few things that I do now. So one of those offers, the main offer that I sell is the done for you package, and that is we do people's marketing funnels and ads at quite an affordable price compared to other people. So that offer there is for more of those people that need marketing help, that don't know how to really do it, and they want to get started for, as honestly, it's probably the lowest price we could physically do it for. And that is a done for you offer. I also have another offer now where I help people become speakers. So that's a different company, different business called Iconic Speaker, and that's where we train the next presenters, the next closers on stage to learn how to do all these different things as well. And that's there's a few offers there too, but the main offer that I sell on bigger stages is the 5K done for you offer.
Ethan, how do you juggle your time from fulfillment of all the offers to putting together events to the marketing to probably one-on-one coaching calls with clients that join your programs? How do you balance everything?
Oh well, I don't balance anything. I don't there's no balance, no balance. It's just I do what needs to get done. So for me, over the last few years, I've built a very reliable team, and that reliable team helps me fulfill a lot of the work. So that takes a big pressure off my plate, because initially in 2019, 2018, even 2020 for a bit, I was the only one fulfilling. So I had to do everything, and that was nuts. But it was okay. So now I have a great team that handles a lot of that work. And my main roles now are, I don't really do one-on-one coaching, to be honest. I don't really it kind of exhausts me. I don't really enjoy it. I do it very, very rarely. So all my work now is focused on like very, very high ticket clients, so very highly big personal brands. I will still look after them directly. And then my own events, I will look after directly. It's me in the accounts doing all that stuff still. And then from there, it is just now speaking. So that's my main three roles. Well, I'm kind of it is difficult. Like, there's not going to make it sound like it's easy. It's not, because I do events for Iconic Speaker, which are all the time. I do events for myself with celebrities, which are once, twice a year, which are huge, but 8 months of planning and working that out. And then I have some of the fulfillment for bigger clients as well, and bigger events for them as well. So there's a lot on, but I make it work. I make it work pretty well at the moment, and I'm in a good flow.
Interesting. What's your like day-to-day hours like? Do you work like 9 to 9?
It changes every day. So um normally I spend a lot of the daytime in the morning. I spend the first couple of hours training in the gym, in a tennis. I still keep my physical fitness up. That's very important because as a speaker, speaking for 2, 3, 10 hours sometimes over 3 days, you got to be fit. So I keep doing that in the morning, and then I start work from like maybe 11, 12, and I'll go to like sometimes 10, 11 p.m. if I have to. Just depends on what I'm doing. But yeah, just it's really every day is a bit different for me.
Any sort of people in the event space that you sort of follow and sort of get inspiration from? And I've also heard, is this true? Like, I've heard that the event space is very hard. Like, not many people can even profit or break even on events. Is that true?
Yeah, so it depends on your strategy. Most people can't make money on ticket sales, never, no. But
Yeah.
most people also don't know how to pull it off correctly. It's a very risky industry. It's especially the bigger, like at the bigger level, the celebrity level, it's a much riskier industry. At a small starting up level by yourself, like that's how I started up by myself. It's not as risky, it's not as hard. You can make that work. You can actually make that work very, very well. It just comes down to the strategy, the right support, and stuff like that. But for me, right now, a lot of the big speakers that I used to look up to or used to get ideas from, a lot of them are my clients now. So we do bounce around ideas, and the good thing about this industry is when you kind of break through the plateau, there's a very few amount. There's not that many speakers out here. So those that have kind of done something really, really good, we all kind of know each other to an extent. So it is good like that. Um, I think the biggest, yeah, I still think the biggest speaker I learned the most from is still JT because he's still the best closer on the planet and he's still the best presenter. So a lot of my initial style, because I'm usually a very timid person off stage, and his style of talking was very, what I would have called, aggressive in your face, and the opposite of what I was. So I wanted to be that. So I tried to integrate as much as his kind of style of talking as I could when I was starting out. And even to this day, like he still gives me advice or he still, helps me out when I need it. Because I think he's the one I learned the most from still, as well as Cherie. Like Cherie's a phenomenal speaker with the emotion and the story. And because in the way that I speak, I'm not I don't have much emotion. I'm very much direct. I'm very much logical. I learned heaps from her as well. I still learn lots from her as well, because I learned how to bring in the emotion and the storytelling from her. So I think those two have a great contrast, and those are the two I learned the most from a how to speak point of view, and structuring events. It's all JT because JT has worked with over 100 celebrities, and so he kind of put the vision in my head those years ago. Like these are the celebrities that you can do things with, and I'm like, well, how you pull that off? Teach me. And so those two are the ones.
One thing I'd love to sort of get your inside thoughts on, like when I think of events, I think of Grant Cardone, 10x event, big, tons of celebrities, a bunch of people on the card. But in my mind's like, that must be very, very expensive. It's like 10 celebrities is like 50 times the cost, and you might only 10x ticket sales. But tickets, and then they have big giant venues, so like they're no way making money back on ticket sales. And even if they get sponsors, it's like how does Grant make it work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. When you have that many celebrities, like for me and for the average person, it's going to cost a lot of money to get those people in here. I don't know how Grant affords that. I don't know. I don't know if the events are profitable. I have no idea. But for the average person, like for the average speaker, it's for me, it would be impossible to pull that off. I couldn't be able to afford it. So my strategy is get one or two, or like start with one or two, and then go from there. Like that's crazy what he was doing.
Because you're right. Like even if you bring in two celebrities or three, you don't double ticket sales, you don't triple ticket sales. There's no correlation, so you get diminishing returns. So when he gets 10 extra speakers, it's like massive diminishing returns.
Yeah, it definitely can. It definitely can be. Sometimes other celebrities will help increase the sales, but yeah, most of the time when you have 10 to 15, like there comes to a point where it will diminish the ticket sales, and there's not going to be a net benefit for sure. So yeah, I'm not sure about the numbers behind those kind of events. I don't know how he does it. No idea.
Ethan, when you put together these events, do you also have to plan out like the hotel, the accommodation, the flight tickets for the speakers, the celebrity, even the crew, the team sort of moves with you? Do you have to figure, and then there's like probably like 20, 30, 50 people they get to do this for, or do they just figure it themselves?
Yeah, so when you have this celebrity, you do have to organize all the flights, the even the transport, the security, the accommodation, every single bit. Um, for me though, I quite enjoy the logistic aspect of it because it's not for me. I'm very logical left. I can organize things very easily. So yes, it can be quite detail oriented to do that kind of stuff, but I kind of like that. Um, and then you also have to organize like the visas and the
Oh.
lots of things to think about, 100%. But once again, you kind of learn as you go. Once you do like one or two venues, you get an idea of how to negotiate the venues properly and how to get the prices quite well. So yeah, it's not a big deal.
Given that there's so much work up front, with each event you do, is it hugely profitable where you can do that full time, or do you rely on the back end? You rely on this sort of reach and growth in personal brand? Is that the main goal, or could you literally just do it off each event?
Um, yeah, so in an ideal world, you would love to build a personal brand that can kind of just you can leverage organically, get people in, but it's you still need the advertising. Like even with the Goggins event, when we started off that campaign, we would just post organically. Didn't work. We had maybe 100 sales, actually probably a bit less. When we did ads though, it was just insane. So every event is different. Every event requires a new marketing piece, a new campaign, new strategy. So yeah, you can't really rely on the personal brand on its own anymore to fill up an event of 3,000 people, so to speak.
Got it. If I were to rephrase the question, why do you, Ethan, like putting together events? It's so hard, it's so difficult, it's so why do you do it?
Why do I like it or why do I do it or both?
I guess both, yeah. Is it like besides being fun, like is it hugely profitable so it makes it worth it, or is there another reason why you love doing these difficult things?
I love doing the difficult things because of why you asked me the question. Because people think like, why the hell are you doing this? Like this is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I get motivated by doing things that most people would either be too intimidated to do or too afraid to even try, or not even think about doing in the first place. It just motivates me. It gets me excited because I know I tell my story about when Kobe died. When Kobe died, I was like let's just live life and do things that are a bit crazy, a bit out there, and try something different. So we're not going to go to the grave with money left over. We're not going to keep our money with us. So I'm just thinking, well, what can I do that has the how can I tell the best story? How can I make this the best story possible for however many years I have left? And what's going to excite me? What's going to inspire other people to maybe do the same thing or change their life as well? Let's go and do that. So although yes, it is profitable and that's also exciting, but the most exciting thing is being able to do something that most people can't do. And it does. I think I figured out why that excites me. It's because all my life I was insignificant. I had no voice, couldn't talk to anyone, no idea what I was doing. I had no friends. I build significance by being different. So all my life since that time has just literally been building that significance because I'm trying to overcome that insignificance. And that's probably at a deeper level why I do it as well. But consciously, I just love being different right now.
That's super cool, Ethan. What do you see, or where do you see these events long term? Is your long term goal to build it up where it's like a company like Success Resources and just have events all the time? Do you see like what's the long term? Do you want to just get bigger and bigger celebrities and sort of have like Elon Musk at one of your future events in the future? What's the long term vision?
Yeah, I don't know where like honestly my short-term vision was let's get through Goggins and Gary and let's have a rest fine. Let's just have a rest fine. Let's have a breath. Um but I don't know. I've just had conversations with someone about other potential events that sound very exciting as well. So long term, I'm not sure. I don't want to be a success resources. I think that yeah, that's not what I'm trying to go for. But to bring other inspiring people down here and to So maybe be the biggest promoter of these kind of events for the next few years would be quite a challenge and quite exciting. But I honestly don't know the answer. I don't know where I want to go right now. And that's been the kind of theme of my last few years. I kind of figure it out as I go. There was not a 3 year plan to get Gary. There was not a 3 year plan to get Goggins. It was, this is what I want to do right now. Let's just make it happen. So I'm not a massive planner, to be honest. I'm not a massive planner.
In the event space, is there like a pinnacle? Like, are the big festivals like Tomorrowland or like big soccer games? Like, are those the pinnacle events and are they like really profitable? But then again, they have big venues, so the expenses are really high.
Yeah, like the music festivals. I'm not too sure because I've never been in the music space or the festival space. I don't have any intention to go there. Same with sport. It's a different beast altogether. So I imagine it would be profitable because they can sell tickets without as much advertising required, and they're not paying as much money for bigger celebrities, and they're getting more people in there. So I think it would be profitable for sure. But the pinnacle of any of I think the pinnacle events are those ones that are like the Ed Sheeran event, whereas like 10 like MCG's full, 100,000 people, it's huge. That's the pinnacle event. Not my goal to do that at all. I like personal development. I like this industry. So yeah, but that's the pinnacle, I think.
When running ads for like ticket sales, is it as simple as, it's $150 a ticket, make sure CPA is below 150, but then you also need to take into account the speaker costs and the venues, and you somehow figure out how much that costs, and you're like, I need a CPA below 75 to be break even. And how do you even know that's the break even point?
Yeah. So I don't base on any CP. What I do is before the event starts, I will get an analysis of all the costs,
Mm.
and I'll summarize all those costs, and it'll give me a final number. So let's say it's $1 million. So then I have to make a plan to, over the next 6 months, make $1 million profit, and then I can choose. And then day to day, what I do every single day is I go and get how much did I spend on ads, what's the revenue, what's the net profit. If the profit is more than the spend, I just keep increasing the spend. Literally, I'll just every single day I do the same activity every single day. Um, and that's how I do it based on day to day. If I make $1,000 today and I can do the maths, all right, if I do $1,000 a day for the next 6 months, that's going to be 180 grand. I need to make like 3 times more than that. So we got to add more in. So I just do it based on every single day.
Wow, and I just realized with these events, there's a lot of upfront costs. Is it easy to like get business loans, sort of credit lines, or do you just front everything yourself, Ethan?
I've always been one to avoid any loans. So I always front it myself. And that comes also to being able to negotiate the payments. So don't try to pay everything up front. Don't try to pay all the venues day one or the celebrities day one. Try to space out over like months, or just delay it. The ticket sales start coming in, and they can cover the cost as you go. That's how I've always done mine with the paid events. With the free events, that's when you require upfront costs. So that will cost like for the first iconic speaker ones, cost $70,000 to pull off 4 events, and that was all upfront costs because they were free events. So that's where it becomes a bit different. Is you got to go upfront with that one, but for the paid celebrities, you can do it monthly.
With a lot of your ticket ads, are you targeting cold audiences, or is it a lot of just retargeting based on the celebrity?
It's 90% cold, 10% retargeting. So the focus is on purely a cold audience, really.
How do you make cold work? Because I know people struggle to like sell, like it's impossible to sell like $100 digital product on Facebook ads profitably. Your CPA is usually double the cost of the digital product.
Yeah, 100%. Because people are trying to go for a low ticket sale too early in the process, and no one's going to give you a credit card if they have no idea who you are. For an event, it's different because for an event, the reason that they're going to buy a ticket is because they want to see celebrity, or they want to see someone. So that's different. And that's why the free event model works for no celebrities, right? So for the other events that I run that are still free events to this day, they work because we're not going to ask you for a credit card today. We're going to ask you to come for free, spend a few hours with us. At the end of those hours, we're going to make you an offer. And after you know us, after you like us already, after you know the offer, that's when you'll buy. So it's more of a longer process than just going buy an online course. See you later. It's that doesn't work anymore at all, really at all.
Interesting. And like, what are you doing differently when it comes to selling the tickets for these celebrities? Like, how come these celebrities would struggle to run ads with their own content, their own face, and sell a digital product or even an event? They would struggle, whereas you can somehow make it work, Ethan.
Well, I think it's just yeah, I think it's more the advertising the skill set. Like they don't have the skill to run the ads. Marketing is always required to get the message out there. So unless they have an inbuilt marketing team, I think that they just don't know how to run ads, they don't know how to run the funnels, don't know how to structure the event, don't know how to produce the event. Most of the celebrities, they want to do what they're good at, which is speaking and inspiring an audience. They don't want to have to think about the logistics or everything else. So that's what the hole that I can fill for them is complementary tasks like that.
Interesting. Besides the nuances, do you sort of keep it simple? It's like get a ad creative on the celebrity, target the celebrity, target David Goggins, send them to a landing page, and then check out? Or is it much more in depth than that?
No, I like to start very simply like that. I like to start very simply. So I'll normally make an image ad with the celebrity in it. So that's the main draw card. And then yeah, literally while targeting some celebrities you can target, some you can't. So you can't target Goggins, you can target Gary V. But what we're seeing anyway with the Gary V ads, the targeting that's more broader anyway is still working better than the Gary V targeting. So that's much of a muchness really. But yeah, I like to do the image first, and then once they make a video, the video's next, and the video normally works a lot better because they're saying, I'm here, I'm coming, buy tickets. So that works a lot better as well. But yeah, I think simple is the best way to start off with. And then you only have to change that once you hit ad fatigue and when you start losing money on the ad spend. But yeah, that's just the ongoing optimization kind of thing.
When you partner up with these celebrities, Ethan, how do
Mm.
you sort of maintain trust? Like, what's stopping a stranger from just pretending, hey, Gary Vee is going to be in Perth. Here's the tickets, buy now. And it's just some random website that someone's running.
Yeah, good question. So they would get sued, not by me, but by the celebrity. So yeah, there's people like even when we started running any ads for any celebrity, these people get so many DMs, tags, like they see these things. If someone was to make a fake event with this person, they would find out very quickly and they would get sued a lot of money, if not even worse. Like I don't know what the laws are in different cities about impersonation, but I would consider they'd be pretty bad. So yeah, I think if anyone was trying to do a fake event, they get caught pretty quickly.
Got it. Ethan, I want to be respectful of your time. I don't know how much time you have. I really want to dig into the David Goggins and Gary Vee story. How's your time looking?
Yeah, you can dig, you can go.
Perfect. Yeah, tell me, how did you do the David Goggins? That was like, that's how I found about you. What's the story behind that? Was it just like a cold email? Hey, we did it with Seth Godin. Would you want to come to Australia? And that's a long way for him.
Yeah, so Goggins, I reached out to a year before the event, and I said, "Do you want to do a virtual event? What's the virtual fee for you?" They said he doesn't do virtual. He doesn't do virtual at all. So I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, that's not ideal because we were still that's why we were still in pandemic laws, or there was some kind of restrictions on events still when I reached out to him. So I wanted to do an online one, couldn't do it. So then I waited till the laws lifted and that people could move freely and we can do events properly. Once they lifted, then I reached out again and I said, how much does it cost to have Goggins come to Australia? And and they said, look, we have a Goggins has a huge audience in Australia. Like it'd be awesome. We'd love to do it. But it has to be the right fit, the right audience. Who are you? Like that to do their due diligence, obviously. So it was just a conversation about what our plan was, what our strategy was. Who I was, like why this random person in Australia wants to do this. Like what is going on here? So it was like a whole 12-month conversation, and then you know, I had to do my due diligence as well because I don't know, how many of his followers or his fans live in Australia. I don't know. Like they could all be Americans. So I had to also do that due diligence. Once we both were happy with what was going to happen, then we just got to work. Really, I mean, to be honest, out of everyone I've worked with, They were by far the easiest, smoothest, no hassle. It was just so easy. The whole process was just so easy to work with them. Like him, his team, everyone involved. It was so smooth. But yeah, that's how it happened.
Ethan, given it's such a long process, they're doing their due diligence, you're doing your due diligence, that means you have to be sort of talking and sort of having conversation with multiple sort of potential sort of guests for your next event, right? Because these conversations can just go on forever, right?
For most people, yes. For me, no,
Mm.
because I only want to work with those people that I look up to. So that was another thing that I do is I don't just get anyone. I don't like I could have gotten about 10 other speakers, but I didn't actually relate to them personally, and I didn't relate to them. I wasn't looking up to them. I didn't really know who they were. With Goggins, someone I relate to heaps for many reasons. Someone that I look up to for a few years now. Same with Gary. Like these people that I choose have stories that I can connect with and that relate to me. So from a business perspective, it's probably a bad idea. Like from a business point of view, it's like you could get anyone. Like why you just want to get those people? But for me personally, like I don't. That's what I want to do. I just want those that I actually like. So I was not talking to anyone else during that time. It was Goggins or yeah, Goggins or bust. Honestly, there was no backup plan at all.
And then, given that it's 12-month planning, in between, are you sort of still doing live online webinars? Are you still doing in person free sort of workshops? Or are you just at home talking to Goggins and Gary?
So I was doing other events. I was a guest speaker for other events with Janine Ellis, Naomi Simpson, Turia Pitt. So Aaron Sansoni invites me to speak his events. So during that year, I was talking at his events and traveling Australia at his events as well. So that's what I was doing for that year.
When you have all those sort of speakers that are not on the card, do you also have to figure out their flights and their accommodation, or are they more independent?
No, if you're going to have someone speak on your event, they need to pay for their own and work out their own accommodation and travel. Like when you're the one putting the people in the room and you're taking the massive risk, everyone relies on you. Like you are the person that is doing this. Otherwise, they could have just done it, right? They could have pulled it off if they could do it. So no, when you're inviting someone else, you allow them to make their own arrangements to make it work for them.
Are you currently in talks with any other celebrities for any potential future events at the moment? Or is it just you want to get Gary Vee done and then take a breather? Or are you already thinking of the next event?
I was gonna take a breather, then one of my clients invited me to produce another event and speak at an event in September with a pretty big name. So I'm gonna do that, and the ads are probably gonna go live this week. So you're probably gonna see it in the next week or two. But there is, like it's a big enough name that most people in the personal development industry will know them. I personally haven't had much to do with them in the past, but I'm doing the ads and running the funnels for the event, so I'm going to speak there as well. And then there are talks with other people. I'll just say other people for November this year and then next year as well. So although I said I wanted to have a bit of a break, when you have the hot button, when you are the person people want to kind of do work with, I don't think you can give that up and delay it. I think you just have to take all the opportunities. That's what I'm doing right now.
I'm trying to think like, besides you, Ethan, I can't think of any other sort of Australian based sort of personal development events company that's bringing people overseas to Australia. There was Success Resources, but I haven't seen them in a while. Is there anyone else besides you?
So there are people doing events that are, like a 1 hour or 2 hour event. Like, for example, Obama was here for like 1 hour or 2 hours with,
Really? Barack
with
Obama.
yeah, he was here this week with growth faculty. You had Eckhart Tolle, I think, a couple of weeks
Yes.
ago. But those events are very different. Like they're just 1 or 2 hours with the main person, and that's it. So
Yes.
those events, yes, there are other people doing that, but not these kind of level, not this kind of events. They're not doing that. No.
Is Eckhart Tolle just going through like an agency that would handle the ticket sales, bring him to Australia? Or was it a similar setup for you where it's like the organizer is like doing the numbers and they're like a part of it?
it'd be the promoter. The promoter would be the one organizing it. But yeah, the promoter is usually the one that has all the risk involved. But some celebrities are different. Like some will do it themselves, and the promoter will just be there to assist in the smooth transition. But yeah, usually the promoter takes the risk. So
Oh wow. So that means the promoter or like promoters in general, if they were sort of bringing Eckhart Tolle to Australia, they're sort of fronting a similar amount of risk as you, maybe a bit less because they don't have like a crazy setup, but they're like fronting a lot of the risk.
yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
This whole time, every time I would see like Eckhart Tolle, I would have thought that he's selling the tickets, but now it looks like he's like usually it's speaker fees and then the promoter selling tickets. Like wow, like I never. This is a whole new world.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's how it works. Yeah, yeah.
Do you when you sort of had David Goggins come over, did you spend that week with him? Are you sort of with him a lot of the time, or do you only see him at the events? Is there a lot of one-on-one time? Do you guys have dinner afterwards?
So every celebrity is different, obviously. So everyone's different. I'll say that everyone's different. Okay. Goggins was by far like literally the most personable person. I think you know, what you see is what you get with him. Like I was surprised at how open and how humble this guy. He's just an incredible person. So with David, one story that kind of stood out for me was, obviously we organized all these travel with the cars and everything and the flights, whatever. So we land in Brisbane, and his car is there. He's going to his car. Then he comes back out of his car to try to find us, and he says, "Guys, the car is massive. Come in the car with us to the hotel." So obviously we said no because we were like we don't want to step on your toes. But the next time he did it again. We did drive with him in the cars. Um, there were two dinners that we had that were public dinners that we sold as a offer. So we had two public dinners with him, but we also had lucky enough to take him and his family out to a dinner that was at the end of the tour, kind of the last night, like as a goodbye. So spent plenty of time together, and yeah, it's not common for someone of his. I'm not going to say celebrity because he doesn't like that word at all. No, no, not a celebrity, but someone of his kind of nature and someone that's that well known in the public. It's not common in my experience, for personal brands to be so you know open to communicate and so easy to talk to. That's probably what I'll say. He's incredible. He's an incredible guy.
To pass on the compliment to you, Ethan, I was talking to some of the security guards from the David Goggins event, how they helped me get the mic, and we were just chatting, and they were like, "Yeah, like Ethan is super nice. Like they've had dinners with you. You're super switched on. They've learned so much just hanging around with you because I think the security guards are like your personal security guards. So they said the exact same thing that you're sort of saying about David Goggins.
Oh, that's cool. So the head of security was head of the security is my current strength coach. So we know
Mm.
each other quite well. And yeah, then he helped out with all security, so he got all his friends, and that was awesome as well. But yeah, I know those guys. Yeah, they were cool.
What were your biggest takeaways from the David Goggins event? Putting it together.
Biggest takeaways. Like honestly, there's so many things that I could say that I just don't know even where to start. Like to be fully honest with you, when the events ended, I had about maybe 2 weeks of just being switched off and dead, and then I was straight back into other events. Actually, it was a week. I had 1 week off, and then I was back into other events. So I haven't even had a chance to really let it sink in yet. To be honest, has not sunk in at all what we've done. Um, and I think the biggest takeaways were that, yeah, like how to produce a massive audience like that, how to work with celebrity like over that amount of time, how to speak on a bigger stage like this in person and command an audience for hours over different events, how to logistically organize all these different things and pull it together. I think for me now it's more of a confidence that I can do it again, and that's probably the biggest takeaway. I know I can do it again now because I've just pulled it off.
When was like the moment of relief? Was it when David was in Australia? Was it when you got the first of the three cities done? Or was it when everything was completed?
Oh, there were a few moments. The first moment of relief was when he landed and passed through customs and got to his hotel in Australia. When he got to his hotel, I'm like, all right, he's actually that's all. The second moment of relief was when he walked on the stage for the first time, because now he's on the stage. Now he's done it. He's here. We've done it. You know, he's actually on the stage. And the third moment was when the last event ended. That was just like, oh, we actually worked this out in its entirety, and that was huge. So those are the big three moments, I think.
Did David like stay in Australia to like travel for 1 or 2 weeks after, or did he go straight back to America?
No, so he went back home pretty yeah, after the last event he went kind of back home after a couple of days, but he had a few days off here, so he had a few days off that he was able to do things if he wanted to do them. So he had a few days off.
And Ethan, what were the biggest fires that you put out during that event? Like what could have make or break things, but you sort of solved it?
Biggest fires. I'll be honest with you, like this event was probably the smoothest one that I've ever run in my life. Uh yeah, there was one kind of semi fire, but um that was not an issue. And then, to be honest, there was really no major point that I was like, this could mess up. Um like the ads went well, the funnels went well, the people all turned up. The fire, there was no fire. The only thing that was an issue was I didn't expect this. Was there was some people that were sending me hate messages after my first talk. Like I'd actually come up to this point, I'd never received a hate message, um, except for like one at the Mark Bouris one. After my first talk in Melbourne at the Goggins one, I had like five or six, and I was not used to that. So I was like, what is going on here? Um, so that was the only thing that was like kind of negative. But other than that, yeah, there were no big issues.
Okay. What do you think was like the hardest part of putting together that event then?
The hardest part of putting the event, the hardest part was actually taking the risk. So there was a time, probably a month in, where I was like, what have I done? Can I just cancel my contract? Can I just get out of this? So
Yeah.
a month in, I freaked out. A month in, I was like, this is a big risk. I have no idea what's going to happen, or if this guy's going to even turn up. I don't even know like what am I doing? I'm in over my head. So I wanted to pull out, but I didn't. So yeah, that was the hardest thing, was just stabling the emotions initially were the hardest things.
Last thing I want to dive into. Tell me about the Gary Vee story. Congratulations on that event. I'm seeing the promotion. I'm seeing your post. Massive congratulations. What's the story there? I'm a big fan of Gary as well.
Yeah. So Gary, when I was starting from nothing, I wanted to have that business, that first one I told you about. So I picked up a Gary book in like 2015, 2016, Crush It, or yeah, Crush It, I think it was. I would watch all his videos, Ask Gary V, like every week, Ask Gary V, Ask Gary. I was watching all those things. He came to Australia. I had no friends, and I had no money to afford a ticket. So I go to my mum. I said, Mum, can you get me a ticket to this event? And also, can you come with me? Because I don't want to go alone. I don't want to go alone. And I definitely don't have anyone else to invite. So she comes with me, and we go see Gary. At that event is where I watch all these other speakers as well. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible industry. And yeah, so Gary was the first person that I went to go and see. He was the first person that kind of gave me the tactics to launch online business. And I always kind of said, well, in a dream reality, that's the guy that I want to meet, that I want to work with, that I want to talk to. That's the guy. And yeah, that it's a whole full circle for me, because that was the first event I went to as an attendee, and it's now one that I get to put on for other people as well. So I'm very happy that I can do that now.
And was it similar? Did you started talking with this team around the same time 1 year ago? Or how did that communication come into? Did you just reach out and be like, hey, I'm a big fan. I'd love you to come to Australia?
No, he gets too many DMs for that. So 2020 is, I know exactly what I did with Gary. So 2020, I emailed his team and I said, I want to do a virtual with Gary. Now, this was before Seth Godin, right? So they say, sure, we can do that, but here's the fee. And I'm like, oh, I don't have that fee. I can't afford that fee. That's not going to happen. So that didn't work. Then I go forward a few years later. We get to about, I think it was December last year. So at the tail end of Goggins, right? Tail end of Goggins promotion. when I was kind of confident that it was going to work, that it was going to be profitable. So I said to them, look, I'm pulling off this event right now. If it goes well, would Gary be interested to come to Australia? So what you might not know, though, this is kind of interesting, is he was supposed to come here in November last year, but it
Mm.
fell through and it got cancelled. I don't know why. I don't really care why, but it didn't come through. So as fate would have it, December comes around and I'm like, does he want to still come? Because I can maybe pull it off. And they say, we'd be open to it. If it goes well with Goggins, we'd be open to it. So it goes well with Goggins, and then we say, let's do it, lock it in, and then it's that was how it happened.
So it was literally 4 months ago.
Literally, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And besides, like, so he was supposed to come last November. When he comes to Australia, does he also knock out a bunch of other things on top of the speaking event? And that's sort of why he has a bunch of things that he'd want to come to Australia for? Or is it just for the speaking gig, you probably?
He's just coming for the events, so it's just coming. Yes, and he also has like a head office in Sydney, so I think he'll go probably see his team there and see them as well. But yeah, I mean, he's coming for the events predominantly. Mhm.
That's super cool. Yeah, that is so freaking amazing. Congratulations on putting together Gary Vee and David Goggins, Ethan. Last question. Any sort of dream guests that you haven't got in touch with, but you eventually would want to manifest?
Yeah, well, so the top two on the list that are extremely out there, going to be like close to impossible, are Elon Musk and Michael Jordan. That's the two. But
Ooh.
yeah, that's not going to be easy. That's going to be difficult.
You can do it. Damn, that's super cool, Ethan. Thank you so much for your time today. Ethan, where can people find more about the events you're putting together to make this evergreen? Where can people just find more about you, Ethan, and whatever events you're putting together?
Yeah, so you can find me like my best platform is Instagram. So Ethan.donati, Donati. Website is the same, ethandonati.com. And yeah, the event is called Mindset Matters. And that's the links on my Instagram, on my website. It's all on there, mindsetmattersconference.com.au. But that's the best place to come and find me.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I had so much fun in this episode. I learned so much. We were able to go deep and go broad, and you're definitely in the dirt. You've done everything inside out. You were able to answer little questions to like CPA, to bigger picture things, and you've definitely done every single part of the process, like freaking doing like figuring out the flights, the hotels, like everything because you've probably done it all yourself. And I just love how transparent you are, down to earth, humble, and I learned so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. It's been a pleasure.
Guys, if you made it this far, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Please message me on Instagram. I'd love to get your feedback on the episode. Any improvements. I've been loving all the feedback from these episodes. Hopefully you guys got in some value today and it was worth your time. Today, Ethan dropped so many golden nuggets. So this is definitely an episode I highly recommend you guys to rewatch. And I'll see you guys next week with another episode. Peace.